Hey guys, today we're going to be covering the major body cavities, which are the spaces in your body that protect and hold your organs. By the end of the video, you're going to know all about the cranial, vertebral, thoracic, pleural, pericardial, abdominal, and the pelvic cavities. And I'll show you where they are in the model. So let's start on the back side of the body with the cranial and vertebral cavities. Okay, so on the dorsal side of your body, which is the back side of your body, you have two major cavities. The first one is going to be called your cranial cavity. And your cranial cavity is the space inside your skull that holds and protects your brain. The second major cavity we have is the vertebral cavity. So vertebral cavity. The vertebral cavity is basically the space that holds your spinal cord. So this whole thing over here. Your spinal cord is going to run from the top near the base of your skull all the way down to the lower region of your back. And together, the cranial cavity and the vertebral cavity make up the dorsal body cavity, which protects your central nervous system, or your CNS, which is your brain and spinal cord. Now we move on to the ventral side of your body, and just like the dorsal side, you have two major cavities. We're going to go from superior-most to inferior-most. So superior-most, you have something called your thoracic cavity. And your thoracic cavity is basically the space that holds your lungs and your hearts together. It protects them and keeps them separated from your abdominal organs. But your thoracic cavity can be divided into two smaller subcavities. The first one is called the pleural cavity. The second one is going to be called your pericardial cavity. So your pleural cavity is the space that holds and protects each individual lung. The word pleural comes from the Greek word pleura, which means rib or side. So it's protecting each individual lung. So you got two of them, one for the left lung and one for the right lung. Then we move on to the pericardial cavity. The pericardial cavity, it comes from two words, one called peri, which means around, and one called cardio, which means the heart. So it's around the heart. So the pericardial cavity is a space around the heart, and it protects the heart inside the pericardium. So together, the pleural and the pericardial makes up the thoracic cavity. Now let's move on to the abdominopelvic cavity, the other major ventral cavity. Okay, now let's move on to your abdominopelvic cavity. Your abdominopelvic cavity consists of two cavities, one called the abdominal cavity and the other called your pelvic cavity. Your abdominal cavity is the upper portion, and it holds most of your digestive organs, including your stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, small intestine, and most of your large intestine. It's a large space, as you can see, that protects all the major organs involved in breaking down food and absorbing nutrients. While your pelvic cavity, on the other hand, consists of your urinary bladder, your reproductive organs, and the final part of your large intestine, also known as your rectum. So these two are protecting your stomach. It's the space that protects your stomach, and the space that protects your reproductive organs mainly. But now, why do we call them abdominopelvic? Well, unlike your thoracic cavity, which is separated from the abdomen by the diaphragm, which is right over here, your abdominopelvic, it doesn't have any physical wall separating the abdominal cavity from your pelvic cavity. So together we refer to the entire region as the abdominopelvic cavity. Now that's it for the video, and on the next video, I'm going to break down the visceral and parietal layers and what they mean and how they work and how they protect your organs. Thank you.